From the Moscone Convention Center in San Francisco, the Democratic National Convention, a preview. From CBS News Convention Headquarters, here is Dan Rather.
Good evening. On the night before Democrats open what they hope will be 4 days of orchestrated harmony, Walter Mondale and his top staff are trying to dig out from under an unwanted and unexpected mess. Even before all these empty seats are filled with thousands of Democratic delegates, this 4 years in the making production is opening on a note of news, at least news of sorts. As the vanguard of the cast of delegates got an official hello from the host city and host mayor, Dianne Feinstein, tonight, Walter Mondale apparently reversed himself. He certainly decided not to replace the Democratic National Chairman, Charles Manat. Mondale, over the weekend, apparently had tried to replace Manat with Georgia's Burt Lance. That ran into such opposition from Union and Western elements of the party, among others, that Lance was named General Campaign Chairman instead. Still, Mondale apparently wanted Manat out, but after a weekend of haggling, it was announced this afternoon that Manat will stay on after all. He retains the title, if not all of the power. Joining us now tonight, Charles Manat. Mr. Manat, good evening to you.
Good evening,
and
Dan.
Do you think all of the publicity, all of the coverage, all the information about what's been happening vis-a-vis your position slows down the momentum of the Ferraro announcement, Geraldine Ferraro as Mr. Mondale's choice for vice president?
Well, certainly now it doesn't. I think everything, as far as the process, is behind us. We've got a very excellent vice president designate, a new designated national chairman of the party. We can start the convention tomorrow and have a terrific week here in San Francisco.
Mr. Manat, I know you're aware that Republicans say one of the big issues of this year, if not the big issue, will be leadership. And Ronald Reagan scores very big in all the polls on that issue. Now, on the eve of the convention, Walter Mondale tries to replace a party official and fails. What does that tell us about Mondale as a leader?
Well, I think the important statement, really, Dan, is the fact that I said all along Mr. Mondale had his choice for party chairman. He picked Mr. Lance, of course, for the campaign job. We now have Mike Berman as our new director of the committee, and I've been picked as chairman of the committee to follow on with what we've been doing these last 3 years. I think that really will turn it to the right issues of environment, the economy, war and peace, and the things we'll be talking about here at our convention.
Mr. Manat, how would you characterize the way you've been treated by the Mondale campaign in the past, let's say, 48 hours? One high-ranking Democratic official called it, and I quote him, a classic royal screw-up. Would you agree with that?
Well, it's been an unusual weekend, but I'm feeling a lot better on Sunday than I did on Friday.
Now, why did you refuse to step aside? I'm laughing only because I think you handled that answer about as well as you could under the circumstances.
Well, I had always said that the presidential nominee has the choice to designate the party chairman. Most recently, I visited with Mr. Mondale about 3 weeks ago in Minnesota, reaffirmed that and reaffirmed my willingness to serve in any way possible. We have had Mr. Lance in place, but 24 hours. He headed up the search committee for this job, and he, I think, did a brilliant and quick job of picking the right man.
Mr. Manat, thank you for being with us. We're glad to be here.
Thank you, Dan.
Throughout this convention, 4 quality CBS News correspondents will be working the floor and the delegates. Ed Bradley, the talk yesterday, before he was made Mondale campaign chairman, was that Burt Lance would be named the Democratic National Chairman in place of Chuck Manat. Now, a lot of people asking the question, why was that decision made in the first place? Why Lance? Why would anybody want him to do that job?
Dan, I think the reasons for Burt Lance begin and end in the South. Without the delegates from the South, Walter Mondale, first of all, would not be the apparent nominee of his party. And when it was darkest for Mondale, just before Super Tuesday, some of his strategists, some of the top people, met in Atlanta to plot what they called a graceful withdrawal from the campaign. Burt Lance reminded him of his promise that he could deliver Georgia, and just a week later he did that. As far as they were concerned, he was a key operative, not just as a party chairman in the state of Georgia, but for the South as a region. As you'll remember, Alabama also came along with Georgia, and that put Walter Mondale back on track. They also feel that Burt Lance is someone they knew in the White House. They worked well with him, they like him, and they feel that he got a raw deal when he was forced to resign. And finally, as part of the Southern strategy, they didn't do anything for the South with Geraldine Ferraro. With Burt Lance, they did.
Leslie Stahl, why was there so much furor over Lance's appointment? Why such a strong reaction?
Well, Dan, we can all boil it down to one name, Jimmy Carter. Party leaders felt that Mondale had given himself a new beginning with Geraldine Ferraro. And then by bringing Lance into it, they felt he was throwing himself backward again, reminding everyone of his connection with Jimmy Carter. And that apparently infuriated the party leaders. As one governor put it, when you're running uphill, you want to carry as little weight as you can. As far as I can tell, it was not so much a concern about Burt Lance's past legal problems as much as the fact that Mondale didn't consult with the party leaders about this choice, and it apparently reminded them all too painfully of the way Jimmy Carter used to deal with them. There was some support for Chuck Manat. 70 state party officials met today, passed a resolution in favor of keeping him. Also, I'm told that Manat had some part in whipping up this party revolt, and that apparently infuriated the Mondale people so much that they were saying as early as this morning that Manat had to go.
Diane Sawyer, this is a very unusual circumstance that Charles Manat faced down the apparent party nominee, faced him down, managed to hold on to his job. How did he do that?
Well, it was a question of timing in a lot of ways, Dan. Leslie's certainly right. When they woke up this morning, the Mondale people did not want to back down, and they still had no confidence in Manat for the job, but they faced another reality. And I think it's symbolized by the San Francisco paper this morning. Take a look. Lance on the front page, and you have to go way back to page 4 to find Geraldine Ferraro. So the Mondale people decided above all they were going to make sure this story was out of the news by tomorrow. And we're told that it's Burt Lance who persuaded them that the quickest way out of the news was simply to leave Manat with the title. So they had a marathon session today. They decided in the end that they would leave Manat with the fundraising responsibilities and bring in their own man, Michael Berman, to handle the politics in the organization. In the end, Manat got what he wanted. He kept the title and had the pride of backing them down. The Mondale people got all the things they didn't want. Namely, they had the distraction, they had the controversy, and they have Manat in the job. Their only consolation, they tell us tonight, they're convinced it's just going to be a 48-hour wonder.
Bob Schieffer, should anybody care about this? Why should anybody care? Let's try to give it some context and understand the meaning of it, if indeed there is any.
Well, Dan, I find very little interest among the general public in who's going to be the chairman of the Democratic National Committee. That's something that political operatives, professional politicians, political insiders worry about. What voters tend to worry about, my experience is leadership, is good judgment, is decisiveness, is the ability to make a decision. And somehow or the other, Walter Mondale has managed to take this business of who's going to be the chairman of the Democratic National Committee and mount it into some kind of a thing that voters can judge him on the things that people decide on what they want in a president. I think this is going to have a long-term effect.